distractions to prevent us from actually becoming happy. Sex and money will never really make us happy.
And the Illuminati and these forces of evil that you talk about apparently use sort of bait and switch techniques by getting us brainwashed into caring about sex and money and ego. And in particular, you've argued that the Illuminati is responsible for the sexual revolution and the rise of feminism, the destruction of the family. Well, you should tell us a little bit about that, since that's actually the subject of one of your books.
Right. Well, to my mind, I'm 60 years old, so I was 10 years old in 1960, and so I've witnessed this incredible transformation in our attitudes to sex, whereby in 1960, sex outside of marriage was not common, and it was frowned upon. And now you have women who don't want to have marriage. They don't even want to have relationships. Young women just want to hop in the fact. They've been totally brainwashed to make themselves sexually available and to get nothing from it. And the difference between 1960 and now is, of course, the sexual revolution. What the sexual revolution did was say that it's okay to have as much sex as you want in any context, and especially outside the context of love and marriage. And this has been incredibly harmful to women, because women are designed to have children and bring up children, and they need men to support them while they're having children and raising their children. And all of this has been upset by the Illuminati. Doesn't want us to have children, doesn't want us to have family, doesn't want us to raise our own children with our own values. And so they taught women that their career is not being a wife and mother, in other words, not being a companion to a man and a mother to a child, which are the most life-giving elements in life. It's love, the sources of love. They managed to mess all that up, teach women that that's not their career. In fact, they should have careers outside the home, where essentially they're working for the Illuminati, since the Illuminati control most corporations and control the government. So that's what the whole sexual revolution and feminism have all been about. Have sex, don't have families. Have careers, don't have, marriages.
And it seems, of course, pretty outrageous to a lot of people that to see these kinds of changes as all being directed by a secret conspiracy. But there's that scene from that BBC documentary on what's it called, Century of the Self, that shows how Sigmund Freud's nephew, the founder of public relations, actually got women to smoke and doubled cigarette sales overnight by having a bunch of suffragettes all light their cigarettes in unison in front of the cameras. So this would be played on the newsreels and, of course, on the front pages of all the newspapers. And this was all based on his understanding that cigarettes had been taboo for women because they symbolized the phallus, and that if you had a bunch of women violate this taboo and link the violation of that taboo to empowerment and to this movement to get the vote and so on, that it would turn everything around at the unconscious level, and you would suddenly start selling huge numbers of cigarettes to women. And that Edward Bernays is the name of the guy who came up with this stunt, and it worked. They doubled the cigarette market overnight, and clearly here you have an example of mind control, because this was all done at the unconscious level by very powerful financial forces. So the idea that this couldn't happen would seem to be contradicted by that incident.
Well, masculinity is defined by power. When a man can't perform, he's called impotent. And so when you essentially empower women and disempower men, you're masculinizing women and you're feminizing men, and you're neutering both sexes, and this has been an attack on gender. It deliberate social engineering designed to mess us up, mess up our families, make us dysfunctional, and make us controllable.
How are people more controllable in this situation than they would be with a much stronger kind of family structure?
Well, because because they get their definition and identity, purpose, meaning, and support from their family roles as mothers and fathers, and from their connection to their parents, and from the family tradition. And so, when you mess up the family, people don't have any sources of identity. So it's easy to give them a new identity by saying, "Here, join this ecological movement, which has a hidden agenda, or join this feminist movement, or join this movement or that movement, or buy this product, and that'll give you your identity." People are looking for identity, and so this way the bankers get to define their identity for them, or they'll tell them, "Get your identity from having sex," and that's what people are doing.
Well, it's true. The whole consumer culture seems to be driven by this wave of advertising that appeals to people's sexuality more than everything else, but also other egotistical desires. Showing, for example, somebody drinking a Pepsi on the beach, and all these beautiful people in a state of undress. The big focus on the Pepsi with the beads of sweat dripping off it, glittering in the sun. And of course, what the message there is that if you buy a Pepsi, you'll be on this beach with all these beautiful people having sex with all these beautiful women. And of course, the person who's brainwashed by this then drinks a Pepsi, and it doesn't transport them to this paradisical beach, and then they're back where they were. They're depressed, and of course, they have to go out and buy something else.
For sure, we don't realize it because we're a part of it. But this whole emphasis on societal emphasis on sex is deviant. It's mass psychosis. It's totally unhealthy. Yet we're increasingly living in a world where what is unhealthy is being defined as healthy. We're entering into a twilight zone.
And how do we deal with problems that arise then when all of our authorities are likely to be actually part of this problem and or brainwashed, according to this agenda? If you need to go to somebody for advice or counseling or help, and the authorities are really all ultimately agents of this nefarious movement, where can people turn for support?
Well, you've defined it very nicely, Kevin. It's very much like those 1950s science fiction movies where everyone in the community is turned into a pod or been invaded by they're pod people and have been invaded by this evil alien force, and they look normal, but they're not. Unfortunately, that's the world we're living in now. And I guess the obvious answer is you have to be very, very careful who you turn to. If it probably best of all is to rely on your own common sense and your instincts. God gave us minds to use, reason to use, instincts. And if I'd only obeyed my own instincts from a young age, I wouldn't have wasted the first 50 years of my life taking the mass media as gospel.
I can certainly relate